Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur Masters series. I am the real Jason Duncan, and I'm honored that you're choosing to spend the next hour or so with me and my special guest, Neil Twa, as we talk about how to 10x your e-commerce business with these 4 steps. A lot of people join this live and we're watching this live, but even more people listen to this or watch this after the fact on my YouTube channel, in my email list. I send out the replay, or even on my podcast, The Root of All Success. We do a replay special edition of the Entrepreneur Master Series on my podcast about once every other week. So whether you're listening to this here live with us, thank you for being here live. If you are, it's going to be great because we get to do interactive stuff, ask questions, or you're watching this later. Thank you for wherever you're doing this, however you're doing it. Thank you for being here. It's an honor. What is the Entrepreneur Master Series? Well, the Entrepreneur Master Series is a 90-minute live webinar that's designed to bring high value content to you as an entrepreneur. It's supposed to be practical and it's tactical to help you as an entrepreneur get your business to the next level. And of course, ultimately, as you hear me, the real Jason Duncan, teach all the time, to exit without exiting. Now, not every topic that we talk about that's specifically towards exiting. Sometimes we talk about marketing, sometimes we talk about real estate, but whatever we talk about, we're trying to get you as a business owner to the place where you don't have to operate every single day in the weeds. Today's topic is actually going to help bridge that gap by showing you a way to maybe take e-commerce into a passive role where Neil and his company can handle that. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But twice a month, I bring on experts like Neil to do this show. This is the last show of 2022. I'm taking the next 6 weeks off for the holidays, not doing the webinar. I'm not taking them off. Let me rephrase that. But I'm taking it off from doing this webinar for the next 6 weeks. My next one is coming up in January. And that one actually, the 2 that I'm doing in January are all on taxes and finances. I'll tell more about that at the very end of the show today. So stick around to the very end. I'm going to tell you what our topic and our guest expert is going to be for January's first show, starting back in January 2023. It's hard to believe that we're already here at the end. But let me tell you about what today's show is going to be. So the topic is 10x your e-commerce business by taking these 4 steps. And what we're going to talk about today is 4 specific things that you can do to 10x your business. Now, you might say, well, Jason, I'm not already in e-commerce, but I'm wanting to get into that spot. Well, 10x is 10x. The cool thing about math is it works no matter where you start from. Math works. And so 10x is 10x. So if you're at 0, we're going to take you to 10x. I know 0 times anything is 0, but forgive the math analogy. Every analogy breaks down somewhere. But we're going to take your business to the next level with what you're going to learn. Now, if you're already in the e-commerce space, what you're about to learn from Neil is definitely a way that you're going to increase your revenue, increase your profitability, and really make running that business better. Now, how do we know? Because Neil Twa is going to be our guest. He is the founder and CEO of a company called Voltage Digital Marketing. And he's been launching, operating, and growing private label e-commerce businesses for the last 9 years. And as of today, he and his clients have sold over $100 million in physical products, primarily through the Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA, sales channel. Now, Neil shares today, and with other people, he's going to share his blueprint for how to build an online business that can generate a passive 6-figure, almost automated income in under 12 months, while setting up your business for potentially millions on an exit within 24 months. So I want you to welcome to the show, Neil Twa. Neil, go ahead and turn your camera and audio on, and let's get rocking and rolling.
All right, got to find all the buttons to push. Hello, thanks for having me on the call.
There he is. What's happening, Neil?
I'm doing all right today. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's good to see you. We've met,
yes, sir.
I guess, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember exactly how we met, but we've known each other now for a couple of years. I've sent a lot of people over to you to help them get into the e-commerce space, and you've done one of these other master series with me. We did one last year, maybe it was earlier this year. I can't remember.
Maybe 6 or 8 months ago, roughly, somewhere in there. Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of pick up a little bit where we left off. So for those of you that are interested in hearing what we talked about the last time, go to my YouTube channel. I'm going to put it in the chat window so you can click on it if you're live here, but it's youtube.com/therealJasonDuncan. And you can go to, there's a playlist in there called the Entrepreneur Master Series, and you can see all of the past episodes that I've done. And one is going to have this guy's face on it, Neil Twa, and you can go watch that. So Neil, how is e-commerce treating you this year?
E-commerce is doing great this year. Actually, with all things considered and many of the worldly things going on of fear and concerns and inflation and other stuff, people are still buying products. Imagine that. And, they're still buying gas, even though the prices are up. So people are still buying things. So that's always good news. And definitely business is progressing and continuing to grow this year for ourselves and our clients. And that's always a very positive thing.
Now, we talked about on the last episode about Voltage Digital Marketing, talked about how that company started, but people can go back and listen to that again to get kind of the backstory. But today we want to really kind of focus in on this idea of how do we maximize what we've got, or if we're about to build something, how do we maximize as we start to build it? So let me ask you this question to get things started, because we're going to try to go pretty deep, pretty fast. But e-commerce in general, as I understand it, and I want you to correct me or validate my answer here, is anything that is sold online, whether physical or intangible product, where it's a service, a course, or something like that. That's e-commerce, electric commerce, right?
That's right.
So what you specialize in physical products. Why did you decide to do that as opposed to courses or intangible products?
Well, so I've got information background and have sold informational products or web apps or done lead gen and stuff in the e-commerce world that was pre-physical product. But one of the things is I started to accumulate some dollars and money and looking where to deploy assets, deploy capital, put it to work, get your soldiers out there, et cetera, was whether I put it into traditional, monetary investment vehicles like Wall Street, or do you go through real estate, or do you invest in other businesses, et cetera. And one of the areas it was brought to me was physical product. You should invest in physical product and branding because you have a marketing and background in driving people in awareness and brand development. You just haven't done it in the physical aspect. And oh, by the way, that cash coming out of your bank, your fiat, et cetera, will be put into a tangible physical asset of a brand. Okay, so with building the brand and having the physical products in it, I can take both a virtual storefront of e-commerce through a website, Amazon, Walmart, et cetera. And I can take physical product inventory and I can have that deployed into that virtual storefront. So I get kind of the best of both worlds. It's not a purely information, which it could be sort of however, it is taking capital and translating it into a physical product that's worth more when I buy it. And it's worth more when I sell it, of course, as I can increase that value of the proposition through the brand. So I take cash and I put it into physical products. That's a pretty cool way, huh? Just like people put money into real estate or other ventures. Instead of sticking it in Wall Street where somebody else takes a hold of it and it's still in a virtual e-com sense because it's all digitalized, I actually have a physical product that someone is getting their hands onto. And that resonated with me a lot in both the financial as well as the understanding of the business model.
So you use the word real estate, the phrase real estate, and I'm glad you did that, because one of the working titles for this show when we were trying to figure out how to title our show together today was one of the working titles that I was thinking about is how to get into digital real estate and become a passive millionaire.
Because we're taking it, no doubt.
This is digital real.
It is digital real estate. Yes, absolutely. Someone may own a piece of that property online, but I can go in with a brand and take part of that property back and own and plant my own digital stake in my brand online and create that space in a virtual sense. And there's an unlimited amount of real estate online.
Why do you think that e-commerce is so popular for people on our side of the equation where we're trying to get into why is it so? Why do people want to get into? I mean, we got people here who are live today, people watching this later. I want to get into e-commerce. Why is it so popular?
Well, in its simplest terms, if it's done correctly, it creates a lifestyle-driven business. It means if you've envisioned a lifestyle or you're executing on an idea of a lifestyle that you want, and you've taken that path and you're looking for a way to make it easier, faster, more simple, etc. E-commerce can be the gas in that engine because it allows you to create physical products, but you don't have to warehouse them. It allows you to create business and economies of scale, but I don't need people, warehouse space, or employees. It allows me to exemplify my lifestyle by using e-commerce as the gas in that engine. Whereas if I take capital or go out, or I have to create some additional value somewhere else, I may have to take a business that I go and create to try to build a lifestyle. So I may be working 40 to 60 hours a week, or I may be going out and working in some other component of a business model. The goal, of course, is I want more time with my family or friends, etc. I want to travel more. I may need more money so I can leave my job or leave the situation or stop something else I'm doing I don't want to do in order to gain that lifestyle goal. They're two different paths. And what I recognized was I wanted the lifestyle first, and I was willing to take the risk to get that lifestyle. And then e-commerce literally fit into my ability to accomplish that lifestyle. And because of that, for me, it made complete sense to take this on. And so when I talk to people, typically they resonate with that. They want some component. They want to understand, how did you do that? How are you making it work? How have you been able to do it for 10 years? Where do I get involved? How much time does it take me to get involved? What activities would I actually do? How much capital do I really need to, put into this to make it successful? There's a reasonable amount of questions there that are pretty simply answered through e-commerce by creating your own, storefront, your own brand, and your own ability to stay virtual. Take the kids for a month to Florida, hang out on the beach, and business keeps running. It's a pretty cool way to do business, in my opinion.
That is right. And that's what I'm all about, the exit lifestyle. I want people to be able to live that exit lifestyle.
Yeah, well, exit without exiting, right? Which is something we're going to cover today.
That's right. So if you are here live, you've got the opportunity to use your Q&A bubble at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I just put a note in the chat window. So don't use the chat box to ask questions. Use the Q&A. So hit the Q&A button. That's a little bubble. It's got two little speech bubbles. Just click on that. The little Q&A bubble will pop up. Box will pop up. At anytime you can ask a question right there. You type it, and Neil and I will be able to answer that live in our webinar today. So thank you guys for being here. Now, Neil, I kind of want to turn it over to you. I'll let you drive, and I'll ask more inquisitive questions as we carry on. But what are the ways to 10x our e-commerce business in 2023?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to have some strategy overarching for those topics, and we can go a little tactical into each of those verticals as we talk about this stuff here for the next 30, 45 minutes or whatever it takes to kind of make sure we get this out, right? But in essence, the four components I want you to understand are profitability. I want you to understand growth, and I want you to understand scale and exit. Okay, these are going to be our strategies. These are going to be our overarching topics. From there, I want to dig in a little to each of those and talk about what that actually means from my perspective in an e-commerce world of business. And of course, business experience around building companies and businesses that just so happen to use e-commerce as their mechanism of industry, if you will. And why we choose Amazon FBA as our first go-to market, and then why we will market in multi-channel beyond Amazon FBA once a brand proves itself. Once we see the upside potential for that, we take it into a multi-channel mode, grow and scale those things, and then exit them. And sometimes we exit them without the exit. And I'll talk a little bit about that, which is very much in line with what Jason does, and very much the way we think about business too. As we build this particular vertical called e-commerce. Now, e-commerce itself, just to be very clear, as we've discussed, has multiple fronts. If you're looking at different marketplaces, you could consider retail, wholesale, online, arbitrage, wholesale FBA, and private label FBA, as well as white label, different models in divisions within e-commerce. And I guess the final one would be information selling. That you can use from a digital e-commerce experience. I have niched and chosen to focus on the private label brand building. And there's a reason why, as I'll explain in the next topics, where that makes a lot of sense. For the most important part of any of these models, it's the profitability. At the end of the day, if I cannot pay myself, if I cannot pay for operations, logistics, employees, and or virtual assistants and contractors to support the growth of my business, does not make. I cannot run that business as a single operator to scale. Now, what do I consider scale? I consider 8 and 9 figures scale, just so we're clear. 6 and 7 figures is just proving that the market is growing. At that point, you can still be in a single operator stage, but no one gets to multi 7 or 8 figures or larger in a single man operation mode. Okay, it's just not simply possible, feasible, and you should probably not do it, because then you're probably working 100 hours a week and hating life. There are ways to do this much easier. Okay. So as the growth and economies of scale, we start with profitability. And at the bottom line of e-commerce with physical private label products, it comes down to one unit. One unit of product has operational cost, marketing, logistics, and other, in the case of Amazon or other marketplaces or paid traffic, it has fees. Okay, it has costs of goods, it has marketing, storage fees, referral fees, media fees, and other things. At the bottom of all of those numbers, there is typically what's happening in this marketplace is people are starting to focus on the wrong margins, maybe because of business fundamentals, maybe because of gurus and courses, I don't know what. Maybe because people aren't being taught business 101 in school anymore. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between gross profit, gross margin, ROI, and net profit. Okay. If we don't understand the differences in these basic terminologies, we don't have the fundamentals enough in gear to really understand the profitability matrix that we follow. What we've coined in our company is the green light process. In other words, can I green light pencil in profitability for these products and to know with 80% confidence that when they go to market, they will sell. The other 20% gap I'm looking to find from that profitability, that product research, that go-to-market test over a 90-day period is the velocity of sales, the interest in the customer, and the amount of traction I can get from that product in the marketplace from my brand launching against my competitors. How much market share can I take? How many sales can I make? We call that velocity of sales, because certain products will sell, but others will sell really well. And they'll sell at a higher volume, but why? So the question comes down to how do we get to an understanding of going by the numbers, okay, to ensure with confidence, like I do, that this product is sellable, it sells well. And it all backs into these three profit metrics, okay, net percentage, net ROI, and unit ROI. When those three metrics within our process go green, we complete a competitive analysis. We determine that there's competitors in the market. We determine differences between innovation and invention. So be very clear about what we're doing. We're innovating. We are not inventors. I have been an inventor. I sat on patents. I have invented things that are really cool. No one will ever hear about and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring them out only to find out that they're not going to go anywhere. Yay, great ideas. So at the end of this, we're innovators. We find opportunities to take things that are already selling in the marketplace and we simply copy but innovate. All right. So what does that look like? I find a product that I know is selling in the marketplace through numbers, estimations, algorithms, and learning. We understand how the competition is selling that product and how well it's doing. And then we say, where can we innovate that product and differentiation? How can we make it just a little bit better, add on just a little features? Listen to the customer and say, hey, by the way, here's a better version of this existing product. One simple one right now would be the difference between a Instapot and an air fryer, okay, which are just innovations of grandma's good old crock pot that's set on the counter, right? That she put on a Sunday afternoon, and you had the crock pot potlucks, etc., and everybody had these things, and most of us were afraid they were going to burn their houses down. But there was a slight innovation of this thing called Instapot, right? Which is basically, we're not your grandma's crock pot. I mean, that was almost the slogan they ran on, right? And now they're $1 billion company. It was easier, faster. It was burn the house down. You can make an organic meal really nice, and Instapot's really great. You leave it at home, you put it on the counter, you come home, and everybody circles around and says, yay, mom and dad, you had a great dinner. Thanks for that. We all had a family environment. We sat down, we had a hot meal, right, at home. Instapot has kind of revolutionized grandma's crock pot, but it was just an innovation, not an invention. The crock pot was the invention, right? Now we take one step forward. What's happened? Air fryers. Air fryers are the next innovation, okay? Who has an air fryer, right? Do you have an air fryer? I see you, your wife does. We have two.
Yes, we love the air fryer.
Yeah, who doesn't have an air fryer? Who's not on TikTok or on Instagram or social or YouTube Shorts or whatever out there watching for the Instapot and the air fryer, cooking 30-second cooking things on TikTok to look at all these new ways to make things in the air fryer, right? I mean, every time I get on there and start watching one of those, if I get past 6 seconds, all of a sudden every video is like, here's another, air fryer recipe. And I'm like, oh, honey, we got to do this. So I got 2 of those. But the air fryer is just an innovation. It's an innovation against the problems people were resonating from grandma's crock pot and, of course, the Instapot. So what do we get? We get the air fryer. So if you understand the evolution of invention versus innovation, you understand where we're going. We have learned that innovations allow opportunity in market by simply following the leaders and coming in as number 2. It's okay to be number 2. Yay, we're number 2. Everybody thinks you got to be number 1, or number 1 doesn't make money, but in actuality, number 2 makes millions. If I were to say McDonald's to you, what do you immediately think?
Billions and billions served.
Who do you think they're competing with?
Burger King.
Boom.
Wendy's.
If I say Walmart, what do you think of?
Target.
Yep. If I say CVS, what do you think of?
Walgreens.
Absolutely. For every product in the market, there's a counter product. There's a number 1 and a number 2. Does number 2 make billions? Absolutely. The idea here is to break down the mindset that you need to be number 1 first to market and that you have to have the most unique product, and that is not true. So as we are looking for profitability in products, we're looking for innovations in products that will be profitable, can compete, and add a different value perception and solve problems the original product didn't, and then we can slip into number 2. The beauty of doing number 2 on Amazon is that you don't take all the arrows, you're not going to take all the slings, you can slingshot in off of the other 7 or 8 competitors and get into the number 2 position right off the slipstring of number 1 and make millions of dollars. At some point, you may even slingshot, like a NASCAR past number 1, which can happen. Amazon might even be the number 1 seller, and we can compete against them and slingshot past them too. How do we do that? Profitability. Profitability and innovation are the 2 leading things of the first topic I want you to understand. I also want you to understand if you are clicking and buying products and you got an air fryer that you got from Amazon, there's a good chance, okay, of the last 10 products you bought from Amazon, 7 of them were sold by people like me, third-party sellers. 80% of the sellers in the platform are small businesses. It's important to understand that because in that market, it's still a free market capitalistic economy inside of Amazon's marketplace. I can compete on price, brand, and product, and I can go head-to-head with major corporations, in some instances, beat them at their own game inside that marketplace. And for that, I love that marketplace. Now, I don't like certain capitalistic things about other corporations. We're not going to get into that here, geopolitics. But the end of it is that I can compete. Man, I might not like what they do as a corporation, but in that marketplace, I am going to head-to-head with more other small businesses, marketers, and brands than I am major corporations, and I can compete and make millions of dollars doing it. And that's what you should understand about that first topic, first opportunity. But understands its profitability. So tactically, I'm looking for a product that is selling in the market that I can innovate, that I can make more than $12 in profit per unit. Okay, if I can make more than $12 in net profit per unit, which means I've covered my margin, I've covered my cost, I've covered my Amazon fees, I've covered my PPC marketing fees, I have made $12 for every unit that is sold. I have covered all of my costs, and I've ordered another unit to replace the one that just sold. Okay. At that minimum line, I've understood base profitability. Because of that, I am then going to be looking at products that are usually above $30 in retail price point. They are typically $50 to $100, maybe up to $125 in retail price point within Amazon. I call that the tier 2 seller, okay, as well as a tier 2 buyer. So there are 1, 2, 3 levels, all right, low, medium, and high within Amazon. Typically, sellers in Amazon who are amateurs, who don't understand what I'm telling you or the profitability or have never been taught it, will go to market on a sub $50 product and not have enough profit to last it. They marry their products and they die on the vine. But you're going to know better because you're listening today, right? So we're going to sell products that have a minimum. It usually, when done correctly, you will find profits in 24, 50 or more in profit per unit. And you can compete against other brands that are in that market. And if they've been in the marketplace and you've done your due diligence, even if they have 2 or 3 or 4,000 reviews, I don't care. I am going to come in with a better plan of action, with a stronger brand innovation, and I will simply go in and take my additional profit and buy all their customers away from them inside the marketplace. Till such time as the algorithm says, oh, you are actually the better seller. Great. Here's more traffic, because Amazon's product system is traffic based. It's search engine, it's organic. You can make organic sales that create nearly passive, almost automated income on Amazon once these products are ranked and ranking. I've had products out there for 5+ years making money every day, week, and month like clockwork. Okay. It is doable. It is profitable when done with these metrics. The profit will not grow a business beyond unit 1 if the product itself is not profitable. And I mean profit, I don't mean $1. I have a lot of people that come to me and say, hey, I got this product. I had a guy come in not too long ago, 3 million in sales, 2.9 million in costs. I'm like, dude, you got a $100,000 a year job. You just made Amazon and everybody else money. Like, wouldn't you like to have taken more than 40, like 40 or 50% of that home in net profit? Let's figure out what we got to do to elevate your brand. So you get down to it, and most of his products had less than $5 in profit per unit. So he's moving a lot of volume, but not a lot of profit. So the strategy of profitability in e-com isn't how many units I move per product, it's how much profitability I have in a product. And then I put more of those products in the marketplace, so then my portfolio moves more units. Does that make sense? So instead of having one product doing 10,000 units a month, I'll have 10 products each doing 1,000 units a month. One of them goes down, the business isn't jeopardized, the portfolio isn't going to succumb or capitulate the business, and I'm going to have to dissolve the business. But at this point, I have multiple products in a portfolio running that is increasing the volume, but also keeping the profitability. And quarter by quarter, my profitability will stay up because my product and portfolio is up. And my annualized run rate will return 12 to 15% return on my brand. Okay, I can't do that in a real estate, usually, unless you're doing REI, or I can't do it on the Wall Street unless I'm going to say an average of, spending millions of dollars for hedge funds managers to move my portfolio around where I have no control, and it's this digital money thing. In this instance, I control those returns and I control what happens next with the brand. And because of that, I have control over growth, which is the second topic. The most important topic beyond profitability is how do I actually grow? What does growth look like? Within these marketplaces of e-com, growth could look like moving beyond the Amazon channel. It could be taking that brand from Amazon and moving it into a Wayfair or a Walmart or another marketplace of sellers, or opening a Shopify store and sending traffic and people into that storefront and exposing the brand to more channels, okay, adding on additional sales channels. It could be that you are simply going to double down on your efforts in Amazon where you started and get that business to more than 7 figures in sales before you open another channel, which means you need to know there's 2 ways in Amazon to grow. There's vertical growth in your brand portfolio, and there's horizontal growth. Okay, horizontal growth in branding is very different than vertical. In the e-commerce world of direct to consumer marketing, where you have a website, Shopify, email, SMS, or some kind of other follow-up system that's talking to the customers and acquiring them, you need to take them through a vertical growth. You have one brand, they purchase one product from you, they get a bundle that says, hey, purchase 2 of those for a discount. At which point you get an email that says, hey, by the way, because you bought those 2, here's a bundle of stuff you might like. And then you might get an SMS message that says, hey, it's a Black Friday deal. Here's this product too. And so you buy more in that vertical. Okay. With Amazon, you can do something very similar. Brand vertical products can cross tier 1, 2, and 3, which means products that are 30 to 50 or even lower, they move higher volumes. So the strategy we've deployed at times is when a brand is grown and profitable, we'll actually deploy products in the $30 or less market, not because of profit, but because of market share growth, because we will then move 5,000 units or more a month of that product. And then we're going to expose our brand to more people who are going to see our second tier products. Does that make sense? So now we're exposing people, but we don't need the profit. And we're okay if we are just at $1 or break even on that $30 product because we want the volume of sales. Now, because I'm approaching that very differently, if you're a seller in the 30 or less range, you're now looking at it going, I need that profit. That's my product and brand. I'm looking at it from a marketing, brand building opportunity to bring that person into my brand. I'm looking at it from a very different business perspective, right? So I would launch those products to gain more of that brand traction because of my second tier products. And then I would launch a third tier product version of my products that would allow me to sell something more than $125. So what would a product look like in that example? All right. You could buy a $19 cheap Chinese piece of plastic and stick it between your legs and ride down the back of Pikes Peak. We call it a seat. I call it a cheap Chinese piece of plastic. If you're going to go to Pikes Peak, you're not going to ride on a Walmart seat. But let's say you do. Or maybe you just want to go around the block with the kids. That's fine. $20 bike seat. Cool. But there are people like me who've ridden down the backside of Pikes Peak who would not take that between their legs. We're going to take the gel cushioned, a hole in the middle. It won't get your crunch and munch goodies. It's got the gel padding with the removable covers, etc. And it's a nice sleek thing and it looks great. And you're like, that's a great one. There's even another one above that that's like $199, right? It's got removable this and it's got adjustable that. And I've seen all kinds of these cool little innovations. But there are 3 levels of the same product. There are 3 avatars. It's a psychology of the buyer, right? There are 3 people to buy each one of those products, but it's all the same product with different innovations. And it's different avatars. So as I unlock my brand vertical in Amazon, I can unlock those different brand avatars by selling them different elevations of the same product type, but selling it to a different avatar segment. So what most people don't understand is they'll launch one product thinking I'm going to service the guy on Pikes Peak when in actuality they're serving the Walmart buyer. And I've had other people who missed opportunities who came in and started selling a Walmart product. And I'm like, you got a Pikes Peak product. Let's get this thing turned around. No wonder you're not profitable, right? And so they turned that around and launched that. I just did a case study with that on David LeBlanc on my High Voltage Business Builders podcast, which you guys are more than welcome, check out on Apple Podcasts and stuff. It just released. He took $500,000 in sales and was making 0 profit. He's basically making the vendor money. He was making Amazon money, and he himself was taking no profit. And about 6 months and $500,000 in sales into this, he came across us and said, okay, I want to try what you're doing because I want to get paid. Right now, I'm not making any money. So I said, okay. I go, what do you realistically think you can do to get to $1 million in sales and increase your profitability? How long do you think you would take to do that? He said 18 months. And I said, okay, let's shoot for 12 months. And he's like, I don't know if we can do that in 12 months. I'm like, absolutely, follow me. We can do this for 12 months. 5 months later, We broke 7 figures in sales. We increased him from 0 to 20% in net profits. Right? He averages with 20, but he can be up to 25. Sometimes he's around 18, but he averages around 20. His business is now extremely profitable. We elevated his products. We didn't change his products. We changed his brand. We changed his mindset. We elevated his products and profitability, raised his prices from 100 to 199 in the market with the original product that he was selling by changing the brand perception. And after 4 months, he did another $500,000 in sales in only 4 months. And by month 5, he was up to 20% profit every month. Pretty cool, right? So
That's
understanding,
nice.
yeah, I thought it was okay. He's pretty happy. He'll tell you about that on his podcast. But it's one of those things of realization that you are sometimes put into limiting beliefs by what you hear online or from others. But in actuality, that's their limiting belief. That's not actually the sky, right? The sky
Yeah.
can be someone else's perspective. It could be another place, another life, another experience. And that's a similar way that, products are different, so are people, right? And so are businesses and processes. So if we understand growth can happen in Amazon vertically, we also understand it can happen horizontally. So let's say I'm selling brand one, cheap Chinese Walmart plastic seat. I'm moving a couple thousand a month. I'm making $1.50 in profit per unit. Not particularly happy, but I'm making sales, so I'm considering myself in a win position. But that's not true growth. If I sell another 1,000 units next month, but I don't increase my profitability from $1.50 to $3 or $4, I really haven't gained anything in the next month. Even if I double the amount of units I moved, but I don't increase my profit, I have not gained anything. What I've added on is more cost, expense, and time to run the business. I haven't gained profitability. If you don't gain profitability, you're not actually going to see the next thing, which is scale. So in my growth, if you're selling that first product, we would move you to a secondary brand that would hit to the second level of product avatar, and that's a horizontal growth. Okay. And then you might even launch a third brand in Amazon that touches the third avatar, and that's a horizontal growth as well. So 2 different ways to scale vertically using the different avatars that are already available to you inside of Amazon. And by the way, this avatar flows through all e-com physical products. Whether you're shopping on Shopify or any other channel, there are 3 seller types. I just explained them. Amazon's just one channel in which many of them show up. So why not go to the channel that has most of the sales, right? 38% of the market share. So because of that, we have to look at how vertical and horizontal equals scale. That's the third topic. So the third topic of scale is, at what point am I able, at what point can I use growth and profitability, and what can scale actually look like? Okay. So for Amazon, there's a really simple thing that you need to understand. And that is, when I find a profitable brand that is growing products profitably, the more products I put in Amazon, the more money I make. It's pretty simple, right? At the end of the day, the more products I put into my brand portfolio on Amazon, the more money I make. So how do I scale an Amazon brand that's working? I find more of the products the customers want within my 3 avatar tiers, and I launch them. Okay. I'll test market those first to ensure the demand of which types, shape and size is most in demand from the customer through Amazon's system. Okay. And then I will simply follow the gold mine. Once the analytics and the statistics kick into this, there's a scientific process here. There's no guessing. There's no emotions. There are just data. And when the data starts coming through, the data shows you where to go. And there's a gold vein in every one of these brands. Okay. And in that gold vein, the customers will tell you what they want. You will see the product start to appear in front of you. And then you realize you've got more products. You got another problem. More products than you can do in an entire lifetime. So now you got to prioritize products and launches and growth. Okay. And following a repeat process, you can get to scale. How fast can you scale in e-commerce? Okay. With Amazon, unlike a DTC channel where you push button traffic, clicks, and run Facebook ads and marketing and that kind of stuff, and within 24 hours you could be hitting 1,000 sales a day sometimes on Facebook if you do a great job and you're a really cool marketer with a great product. It takes a lot longer on the e-com side of Amazon. It takes a little bit longer for the product, the organic, and the distribution of traffic in your brand to overcome the other competitors in the marketplace, outrank them metrically, and then see the organic volume of that sale start to go up over a 12-month run rate. The difference between Amazon and what I have liked about staying in this lane for a long time is that in Amazon, PPC ads, similar to Facebook, Google ads, etc., can be ran inside Amazon's marketplace. And the antithesis, the parallel, the opportunity here is that I can organically rank my listings in Amazon from my PPC ranking. I can't do that anywhere else. I can't go to Google AdWords and run AdWords traffic and affect my Google ranking on google.com search. Can't do that in Facebook, can't do it anywhere else. So the unique opportunity within the Amazon ecosystem is to run campaigns of traffic and the customer acquisition inside Amazon's ecosystem and get the benefit of ranking those products inside of their search engine. Pretty cool, right? So if I'm going to scale a product and understand what to do, I understand that there's a different approach to using the money and attacking the target than a lot of people are able, willing, or even know how to do. And that is when I go to market over 90 days with a product, I'm going to look for a 90-day launch rate in which I'm going to destroy the three bottom competitors with data. I am simply going to tell the engine over 90 days, my product, the profitability, and my metrics are better. And I'm going to keep reminding it as it checks on me. And I'm going to do that through ads and PPC campaigns, where most sellers, and statistically Amazon has said this, will only launch less than 5 branded products. I will launch more than 5 branded products, where most sellers will spend an average of 30 to 40%, what Amazon's terminology is called average cost of sale, what it takes to acquire a customer, okay? And the average is around 30%. And then what it takes to run the total advertising cost of that campaign, what is referred to as the TACOS, TACOS, within Amazon, is another metric we track to look at the holistic life of that product from organic and paid spend. What's the total cost of acquisition for that customer? So when I go into the market and attack in 90 days, I will be willing to spend up to 200% ACOS, where the customer is in that viable, and take that customer away from you before they are ever seeing that competitor. And with that, I will spend that money needed to bring up that organic search result until such time as my average cost of sales and PPC campaign comes down while my organic ranking comes up in around 50%, something amazing is going to happen. All right. The algorithm and distribution inside of Amazon is going to take over. And because I am now beating the metrics of the lowest 3 competitors in my market, I am going to receive distribution opportunities. And that means the traffic and demand that the algo is seeing is going to start showing me more than my other 3 competitors. And it's going to test me. Will I withstand that traffic? Will my conversions withstand that? Will my listing, will my product withstand the amount of traffic? And if the answer is yes, it will move me into a new traffic distribution tier. All of a sudden, sales from 1 month may be 20,000, and next month they could be 50,000. That's how fast this can go. Okay. I've had case studies of people who have come in and doing about 75,000 a month, 4 months into their process. And then all of a sudden in the next 30 days, they're doing 125,000, right? And then Daniel here just this part of the last year, we're still in 22. Where am I at? He was in May to June. He went from 125,000 to 300,000 in 1 month. So he received a new traffic distribution. He didn't do anything else. Didn't put any more effort. Didn't spend 100 hours a week. Didn't launch 50,000 new products. His traffic tier and distribution and metrics had overcome his next tier. And Amazon's distribution said, you got the inventory, the metrics, the dealing, the price point, you got everything we're looking for. Hey, guess what? Good luck. Here's all your sales. So they wanted to reward good brands. They want to do that, and they love the opportunity for scale. How fast can that work? I've got a verifiable case study from one of my students who years ago put this to the test. Brought in $1 million. I said, I want to get to $1 million a month. How fast can we do that? I said, well, 18 months. Okay. That's realistic, I think, for a business. If you can grow it and scale it and find the right products and get into that node, and there's millions of people to get involved in that, it's possible. So he set out to launch these products, took off, followed our processes, and in 4 months, he hit $1 million a month. And in 8 months, he was at $5 million a month. So the idea that you can't scale on Amazon is not correct. You just have to know how to scale on Amazon. Took his profits and reinvested, found more profitable products, and continued to hedge into his gold mine, and then just deploy the additional capital necessary to get those next products in the market, validate them, and scale them too. So scale with Amazon vertically and horizontally is completely possible. He then took that and moved multi-channel. So he opened a Shopify store and started running Facebook ads against it, added on another 120 million in sales a year. And by the time he sold that business, it was over 200 million a year. And in 2021, he sold it for $72 million. That's what he took home. And that was an original Amazon business that moved multi-channel from the products we started with him. And then he sold that company. So it's a pretty cool case study. You guys are welcome to check that out on my site. So the end result is scale is a matter of understanding what you can do within the system and where you should take your product and what you should do next. E-commerce is extremely scalable, and it really has nothing to do with how many hours you put in. It has to do with the product and the solution-oriented customer that you're after. The customers of the Pike Peaks bike seat that we were just talking about, the guy who's running in Pikes Peak who wants that bike seat for $99 or $199, he's more solution-oriented. He's trying to solve a pain point, literally. Not
Literally.
just literally. So those products that are solution oriented are literally like this: to find products that will scale, find something that causes pain for someone else and provide a solution. Okay. Provide a solution that they're willing to pay for. How could that look in different terms? I woke up with a toothache the other day. I'm ready for a solution. Okay. It hurt. And I call up the dentist and they're like, hey, we could have that done and it'd take about an hour. It'll cost like $300. Do you want to do that? Come down. We'll schedule your appointment. I said, what else you got? Because I am in big pain. They said, okay, well, we could do this a different way. It'll cost $500. It takes about 30 minutes. You want to do that? Let's do it. I'm in, right? I wanted that solution. I was willing to pay for it. And if you think there are not other people in the United States that are willing to pay for those level of solutions, you're missing the point. You have a limiting belief. Just because you don't believe it's possible someone would pay for that does not mean that it's not possible that someone else will want to pay for that. Okay, that's a limiting belief. That's scarcity. We're not operating in that. We're in the belief of abundance. And in abundance, it says there's more than enough. You can do enough, there is more than enough, and there are plenty of other people out there willing to pay enough for things that are of value to them, that solve solutions and pain points. Those are the kind of products that really scale. So once you get the profitability, once you understand the growth, once you're finding solutions to match that avatar, that problem, you then create the opportunity for scale. That makes sense? So those are three big topics. So as those three topics get to understanding both strategy and some tactics, then you get to the next step, which is exit. Okay, that's step 4. So of the 4 steps, understanding the exit opportunity is understanding that what we're building as a foundation is worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase. Okay, we understand that revenue is vanity. We understand that profit is sanity. Okay, keeping profit running makes you a sane business operator. And we understand that cash flow is king. E-commerce businesses create cash flow, and when correctly, they are giving you the profit necessary. Okay, and that makes everybody sane. Makes you sane, makes a significant other sane, keeps the product moving, from Amazon for your kids or whatever, and keeps the lights on. That's sanity. So what we understand about exiting is not the belief that I can run this in perpetuity. It's the realization that 20%, by the Labor Bureau of Statistics' most recent numbers, 20% of businesses fail in the first year. Okay. Most people say it's the opposite. 80% fail in the first year. They got it wrong. They got it backwards, right? In actuality, 80%, or I believe it was 70%, they said fail by year 5. Okay. It is scale that causes most of these businesses to fail and then exit. What I want you to do is invert that today and change that belief into one that says I can create scale and then exit when I want and under my terms. And if I can create that opportunity from the very beginning and keep that end in mind, then e-commerce companies are a beautiful way of doing that, because as we take on virtual real estate with physical products and deploy capital into this market, in 24 to 36 months, I can sell that business for 2 years or 3 years worth of profit at time of sale. Then I take that dollar amount and my knowledge and education, and I go right back in the market and do it again. Only I've got more knowledge, capital, and capitalization, and don't you think I can do it faster? Right? And I can. And so are my people, because they will go back and redeploy that into a new business model of branding and go right back in the market. And this time they're doing it faster. They're doing it. So if you look at it like a franchise almost, you look like it, you're like opening multiple stores with brands. You're doing it within your business and within a segment called e-commerce. But the ability for you to open multiple storefronts of brands, to open multiple different opportunities within this, give you the literally unlimited capability of doing this over and over and over again, year by year by year. And you realize that once you hedge into that knowledge and understanding, the opportunities grow, the network grows, and your ability to move and profit in there grows as your network grows within that. And that's basically what I've done for the last decade. So as I look for exit and I look for opportunities, what I'm looking for is a business on the way up, a business that has operational independence possibly built into it, or one in which I can create operational independence, one that has scalability, products, opportunities, upside potential. Maybe it's a human capital or a knowledge capital deficiency that I can fill in very quickly. Maybe they just got some of the fundamentals wrong and we can come in and tweak that, change their profitability, elevate their brand in like 90 days really fast, and they just don't see it. Maybe we see a whole nother pipeline of products that they just completely missed that we could bring in and build that business up. So I look at those as an exit upside potential. Okay. Where are they positioned and how are they going? Do they have the ability to exit themselves, or do they want to be a part of the exit? Which ties a little into what you talked about, Jason. The opportunity for them to potentially stay involved as an owner operator while still keeping a minor percentage in the business, keeping their intellectual capital involved in the business growth, bringing myself and my financiers and my operational strategy in on top of that, and then taking it to another exit. You see how that works? So what's in it for me? The idea of moving these companies out to a zero to hero experience or a turnaround state that puts them into a hero experience and then moving them into my portfolios division where we acquire or exit them. We take them to hedge funds, capital, accredited investors. We show them around the block. We say, hey, look at this. What do you think? This is a product within our control, because if you understand wealth building, then you understand it's not what I control, it's what I can paper. Okay. And with those people within my business, I'm controlling to some degree the asset without controlling the liability, and I can help control the exit of that company, at which time I can bring an operator in or leverage them as an operator into the business, giving them an exit without exit potential, and then take that up to a higher tier and exit it for more. Because believe it or not, this may seem strange to you, but selling a $10 to $25 million company is a lot easier than selling a $1 to $5 million company. So once we sell that business up and we find that opportunity, because for a lot of people that still sounds pretty risky, and it doesn't sound like it has the same upside potential as a $10 to $25 million company. But if we can raise it up to that point, okay, and pull that business to the next level, it's a lot easier to sell it when it engages, so we can actually sell it a second time. Now, could voltage be involved in that at some point? Yes and no. Sometimes we have, sometimes we haven't. The opportunity for that to exit is that we're there from an operational perspective, and we see that exit too. You, the operator, have that opportunity too. As you grow and build that knowledge and capital, you can exit with the business, even take a minority position or an operator position, get paid a salary and a bonus for the next level, because the guys who come in are like, hey, I'm not putting less than $1 million into this company to get it to the next tier of growth. So that's what I'm willing to do, because I've got more money than time, and you guys are going to run the operations. Great, we got that covered. Let's take it to the next exit. That make sense? Okay. So those are the 4 areas of that. Those are some tactics and thoughts. I'm sure we can break down, and you guys have questions. I'm sure I'll shut up for a minute because I've been talking for a long time. But those are the 4 key fundamental components of both strategy and some tactics there that I wanted to deploy today to get a little bit more into the overarching architecture of an e-commerce business, not just a single channel lock business.
So what I hear you saying, Neil, for those of us that are interested in looking at how to develop this e-commerce business and how do we get it 10x, you said your 4 things that we got to look at are profitability, growth, scale, and exit. Profitability, growth, scale, and exit.
That's right.
And so profitability, you said something interesting early on that I want to ask a clarifying question about. Is that you said on Amazon FBA, you want to make sure that bare minimum, the product, the hard product that you're selling, the physical product has to have at least a $12 profit, net profit. That's right. Profit. And is there a reason why $12? Why is that?
That elevates us above tier 1 into tier 2, where our competition and solution oriented products are going to be at. If you get into the products that are typically $3, $5, $7 to $9 in profit, you're going to find those are the products more geared towards emotional buying on the reviews or the price point. At which point, I want to take that out of the equation and I want to focus on the solution. I want to focus on that pain point. What are you willing to pay for, the $300 or the $500 solution? That makes sense?
And that $12, your metric is $12 in net profit, not gross profit.
Net profit, that's right. Gross is the big pile, net's what actually filters out the bottom.
Yeah, you said there were four financial metrics that you pay attention to that most people need to make sure they understand. Yep. Gross profit, gross margin, net profit, and ROI. It amazes me as a business coach who works with entrepreneurs every single day how people don't know the difference between gross profit, net profit, between gross margin and ROI. So let's do a quick breakdown. We'll take a slide stroll into some financial talk, and then we'll go back to your second step. We talked about profitability, but you can't really understand why profitability is a step to 10x your business until you understand what these terms mean. So gross profit is the top line profit that you get. So if you bought it for $100 and you sold it for $200, your gross profit is $100 because you made $100. That's probably the worst example ever of that.
Nope, you're on target, man. You're over.
But that's gross. Right. But then if you had $50 worth of expenses, like you had payroll, you had shipping costs, etc., out of all that, that's right. Now your net, what you net, which actually pull into the boat. Think about it that way. So there's a million fish in the sea, but your net only pulls in what you get to keep.
That's what you
net in that instance is $50. That's net margin or net profit, not margin, net profit.
Yep.
Gross margin though is What?
The
How's
difference.
that different than gross profit?
Well, it's just the difference between the margin and the profit. It's the barrier between cost of goods or other services that have not been added on yet before you can calculate net. And this is where a lot of sellers get mixed up in saying, well, my product has 80% gross margins. Okay, that's great. But after 80% gross margins, and you put on Amazon fees and marketing and logistics and cost and other things, what are you actually taking home? So it may have 80%, but once the numbers pencil in, you might have like 3% profit. What I'm looking for is a minimum of 15% net profit. Okay. And one of the metrics that backs into that is that my cost of goods can't be more than 35% of that. Because after 35% and adding on Amazon's 15%, I have to realize that, those two fees right there are going to take up 40% of my cost, my total margin. If I don't equate that or calculate that correctly and go by those numbers, I'm going to end up with a product that I think could make me 10 or 12 or $20 in profit, but in actuality, I'm only making 5 to 7. And this mistake happens a lot with people who get started in coursework or online guru crap in the Amazon world, and they find it out, guess when? 4 to 5 months into this, after they've married their products, launched too many of them, are not getting enough sales and are not taking enough profit, and then realize I can't grow this business, okay? And then find out at the end of the tax year they never made enough money to pay for their taxes too, which sucks.
Yikes. All right,
Yeah.
ROI is the last one. ROI stands for return on investment, not return of investment. Everybody pay attention to that. There's a big difference between on and of.
Return on investment, yeah.
Is return on. If you're only concerned on the return of the investment, the quickest way to get a return of your investment is not to spend it. So quit being a sissy, don't spend your money.
100% savings.
but return on investment is the percentage of growth you get from this.
If I spend $50 on a product and I sell it for 100, most people will say that's a 200% return on investment. No, that's a 2x on your money. That's 100% return on your investment. And this is where people get this all screwed up all the time, right? Because then they start thinking, well, this is a 200% return. No, you got the numbers wrong. You got the implication of the numbers wrong. If you look at it from that perspective, then you actually understand you have to subtract your costs first from that in order to understand what that real ROI looks like. And you take that from a product level, and that quickly gets reciprocated out to the other numbers. It gets reciprocated into the P&L, and it gets into the minds of folks, and they really screw this up, right? So we need to understand the return on investment, okay, is not 2x your money. When you sell a product you bought for $50 for $100, it's not a 200% ROI. Okay, people make that 100% mistake. It's a 100%, and then you subtract your costs.
So here's the math for everybody doing this, because when I was running my lighting company, ROI was a big thing that people talked about all the time. Every CFO we talked to, well, what's my ROI? And you know what they actually meant is, when do I get my money back? Which is simple payback.
That's right.
Which is something different. That's return of investment. And the best, quickest way to get your money back is not to spend it. But so I would have to tell them here's how you calculate it. And here's the, if you're where you're going to write this down, people write this down. ROI, like the actual equation is the gain. So in other words, how much you made, the gain, minus the cost.
Yes.
Divided by the cost.
There you go.
That's it. That's how you get ROI. So $100 gain minus a $50 cost divided by $50 is 1. 50, that's 100 minus 50 is 50. 50 divided by 50 is 1. Right? That is the percentage, which it's a 1 with a decimal point. That's 100%. Yep. So I know for those who don't follow the math, you're probably going to be confused. But gain minus cost divided by cost.
Learn the metrics, understand what they are, do some more due diligence if some of this is confusing for you today, but understand those fundamentals of business. They will help you from being tripped up later. They will either hinder your ability to grow and scale, or they will allow you to grow and scale in your business. And that's a key fundamental of profitability that I want you guys to gather from today.
So grow and scale, those are your next two things. So growth was the next one. And the way I understood you were talking about growth is, first, you work on your profitability. If you're going to 10x your e-commerce business, first, make sure your profits are correct. You got to make sure you have good gross and good net. Now, second, if you're going to grow the business, you got to make sure that you can take your product and put it into multiple streams, or am I understanding that wrong?
Not until you reach, in my book, okay, my clients don't go off Amazon until they reach seven figures in sales on Amazon first. So growth will be understanding profitability of current products or products that you're going to launch. Two different tracks. Now let's talk about the more complicated one real quick, which would be if I'm selling products and I need to turn it around, my profitability may be the most, it's probably the biggest factor we run into, is I can't grow because I don't have enough profits. I don't have money, enough war chest, I don't have enough to pay myself. So getting profitability up first will allow you to then understand why the products you chose or what profitability is about those products. And that will help you become a better product researcher so that at the growth level, you're only launching products now where you understand true profitability. That allows growth because now you know what your return on investment will be. If you're going to spend $50,000 in product inventory and launches, you now know what a realistic ROI and a time of that return on investment will look like because you're no longer guessing. You actually know your numbers. And that is where growth comes. From growth, you will then understand your customer, products, and your portfolio, as well as your segment and competition and price points. And from there, you then know how to scale. Economies of scale comes from adding on more. All right. And it doesn't mean I need more employees. It doesn't mean I need more warehouse space. It doesn't mean I need to go hire a bunch of people or do, $100,000 in Facebook marketing. Scale within Amazon means I stay focused on providing the additional products for my avatar in Amazon that they're already buying from someone else. They're just not buying it from me because they're already in there. And the avatar of women 27 plus on Amazon, who do 80% of the sales, are buying all those other products too. They're just not buying it from you. And by Amazon's own admission, the 80 million plus Prime members are spending more than $1,000 on Prime every year. So where do you think I want to go? I want to follow that trail. I want to keep putting products in front of that customer until they spend $1,000 with my brand in a 12-month cycle. That is growth. And that will lead to scale. Okay? Because what does that mean? It means I now know that to grow to scale, I'm going to deploy X amount of capital into what is known, what is working, and what is profitable. And therefore, I may either put that in cash or I'll go out and OPM it, somebody else's money, so that I can reach scale. And that's where most people fail at this. They fail in months, in literally 24 to 48, when they don't understand some of the basic fundamentals of growth and scale of what's working because they never set profitability from the very beginning, and they will literally just go the opposite direction in their business. They'll start to see downturn until they have to sell the company for personal reasons, liabilities, they've got to close shop, COVID hit. I mean, all of these indicators, factors, and stuff will affect any business. Death, loss of a spouse, you dying, and no continuity in your business can all hinder the factor of that and cause those businesses to fail within 5 years. So I'm going to take you out to 24 months and we're going to exit at the top of the game. You're going to get your money and go do it again and run another 24 months. And literally every 24 months we do this, you're not failing. Does that make sense?
The exit was your fourth step on how
It
to
is.
10x your e-commerce business. Pay attention to that. And one of the interesting things you were talking about there, which is a good concept, is this idea of exiting twice. So you first exit by not being involved in the daily operations. You grow it to a point where you don't have to be involved. You get an operator to take over, and then they continue to build it, and then you exit again. But this
Yep.
time you sell it and you walk
Yep.
away. That's a killer idea. That's a concept I'm going to start talking about.
There you go. Well, you heard it here first. But the end result, I'm just kidding you. No, you've got it. I mean, that's the concept here. Not just a concept. That is the application. Okay, just if it may be conceptual for some of you at this moment, but that is the application of what we're doing. We're building brands. We're scaling them. We're bringing in operators. We're exiting them again. These businesses can even exit 3 or 4 times over the years, right? You may never know that it's occurring, but it's occurring all the time. We can acquire brands and turn them around and exit them as well, or we can bring in operators roles or bring in capital roles to take over operations of existing businesses and follow the same process. I do it in multiple formats. One of them is in a coaching opportunity where I take a few people along every month along for the ride, make them, take them from zero to hero and give them the opportunity to learn what we're doing. In other cases, we're involved in the exit from the network that I'm within, from the brokerages or networks or personal references, or people come in and say, hey, I know you buy and sell e-com companies. What about this one? It hasn't hit the market yet. What do you think? These are my favorites, right? The ones that have never hit the market yet. So exit is an opportunity. Why? Economies of scale, of course, with these businesses means I don't have to add on a lot of capital. So at time of exit, there's usually not a lot of debt to retire or a lot of problems within the business or complexities that make it difficult for someone else to acquire, especially if you set it up correctly from the beginning. The other aspect of exiting is inflation. We all know it's up. We've heard about it. We're feeling it a lot. And we understand the implications of that in our personal life. But of course, in businesses, everything has to rise up to make a difference with that inflation. In my e-commerce companies, I can move with inflation. I can raise prices. I can adjust. I can go with the market because I control it. So inflation doesn't impact as much in the buying aspect of me being a seller because I can move with the market. I don't have to wait for someone else to do it, right? And the exit aspect of that too comes down to the fact that money is worth more today than it is tomorrow. When I get that business to 24 months and I exit it at that point, it is worth that money at that time. Okay. And I can take up to 24 months of profit or more back at time of sale. All right. I don't have to wait for 36 or 48 months to go cash flow the additional amount of that and wait for it to come in. I'm taking it back at time of sale and then I'm putting it back to work in the market. Right. And because of that, I'm playing with inflation a very different way than most people consider it. So the opportunity for you to exit is there. Do you have to? No, no one has to exit. That's not the point. The point is it's a business strategy. It's what we call the platinum principle. And it is the strategy that might be the one you want to deploy because of the reasons we just mentioned today. It is an opportunity to create, build, exit, create, build, exit, and keep doing the process over and over again. And by the way, there's a lot more money to be made in the exit than at any other time.
Well, I want to talk about the differences between the words innovation and invention. But before I do, I want to talk about our sponsor. So the sponsor of my EMS webinar series, the Entrepreneur Master Series webinar, is Story, and it's STORY. Why are there two Y's? Why? They're awesome. That's why. They are the company that's going to help you with your social media content. I don't know if you guys know Neil, have ever heard of Neil before, but Neil's got a pretty strong game on the old socials. He's making videos all the time talking about this from Voltage's standpoint. But here's the thing: all of us in business today have to be on social media. It's really required. But the problem with being on social media is you don't know how to edit your videos. You don't know how to put in the cuts and the on-screen graphics and the hashtags, and you don't know how to write the captions so that it captures attention. Well, that's where Story comes in. Story has developed an amazing company built around the concept of taking your content, whether it's content like this that Neil and I are producing today on this webinar, or purpose content where you shoot with your cell phone or your camera, you send it to Story and they take it from there. They do the magic. They take it, they edit it, they cut it, they put it out there, and they are phenomenal. If you follow me on any of the social media platforms, all the videos that you see out there with me on it are done by Story. They are my social media team. They handle it. And you can try them out and get a huge discount on your first 3 months just by going to therealjasonduncan.com/story. That's Story with 2 Y's. therealjasonduncan.com/story. Try them out. You'll be glad you did. So let's talk about the difference between innovation and invention. And I think this is an interesting concept. And this is kind of where we'll draw our conversation to a close today. But one of the things I know about entrepreneurs, and I know, Neil, you know this too as one, is that what separates us from the average bear out there is that we innovate. We take risk and we innovate. We don't have to be inventors, but we take risks and we innovate. So I loved what you talked about, how you have developed this strategy around taking a crock pot and turn it into an Instapot, and then taking an Instapot and turn it into an air fryer, or taking that cheap bike seat and turn it into something else. You're just innovating something. Can you share, as we kind of land this plane today, one cool story of an innovative product, whether you were involved in it, like personally, it was your innovation or somebody else's? What's the coolest innovation story besides the Instapot? You already did that, but like, is there another story?
Well, one of ours, sure. We did a product line not too long ago in the kids space in toys and stuffed animals. Okay. It happened to be, I've got 4 daughters and we had them all in 4.5 years. So I had a house full of diapers for like a decade. And it's always somebody was diaper changing, needing feeding, etc. This is probably, I think, one of my third daughter was up one night, and she, mom was tired, so dad got up, and I usually run the late shift with the kids when they were younger. This is the way we work. Mom would get up early, dad stays up late. That's cool. We balance this out. So that's why we've been together for 17 years. But the end result is this kid's up, she's crying, she needs a bottle. I sit down, I flip on the television while she's feeding, and I'm flipping through infomercials. I at 3, 4 in the morning, dead tired or whatever. And up pops this infomercial for a kid's product. And we're a sucker when we're new parents, right? It's like we want to buy everything, we want to protect, it's for your safety. and what all this, all these products were consuming as parents. And by the way, it's a great niche and it's very evergreen and very profitable, by the way. So we get this product on the television, and it's this thing called seat pets. Okay, and what it is this doll. It looks like a dog and a cat. And they got these animal faces, and they can be hugged by the kids. They got these little pouches, and you put your head on it. And it's got a seat rest, and kids are using it. It's this great old infomercial. It's like, your kids' necks are bad. You got to take them to the chiropractor. It's like you get one of these and you solve that problem. It's like a really cool infomercial, right? And I'm thinking to myself, dang, they got to be spending a lot of money on an infomercial, like $500,000 at least, to get this on at 4 a.m. in the morning. Like, that's pretty cool, because I'm probably not the only parent up at 4 a.m. in the morning watching infomercials thinking I need to get up and buy this product tomorrow. So I did, and in the process of buying that product, I called up my partner. I said, hey, look, I saw this product. What do you think about this? What can we do with this? There's something here. Like, these guys are putting out money for this product. So he comes back the next day and he said, okay, I thought it over. I talked to my kid, and at that point, his son was very into anime type stuff. And this was up and coming. And, they have a different caricature and a look. They have kind of a different eye set, et cetera. And he said, what if, all right, the big old what if question you talk about when you innovate is, what if it could do this? What if it could do that? And he said, what if it had a bit of an anime face? What if instead of a traditional character and animal face, we took like a penguin and a dog and cat and stuff, and we made them look a little more anime? We widened their heads, we put bigger eyeballs, we changed the mouth structure, we changed the, we look at a different body type. And he said, let's go check it out. So we go to Amazon, they're on there, only they're not doing very good with their listings. And we looked, and very quickly we noticed people were like, well, the pouches aren't big enough, and the doll is not stuffed right, and the seamings aren't great. And we said, okay, we got 3 points we're going to innovate on. We're going to change these 3 points on this, and we're going to launch. What are we going to call it? Well, we're going to call it Belt Buddies. Okay, we're going to call it a Belt Buddy. Just a cool name we came up with, because you're in the car, there's a belt, and here's your buddy that's with you while you're in the car. We had bigger pouches, better seams, and anime faces, and we relaunched this product into the market. What we did is we ethically stole their traffic on Amazon away from them, from the product traffic they were bringing in from the infomercial. So we became a competitor. We became their, Walmart to Target, their CVS, their Burger King. We became their competitor. We sold 2,000 units in 8 days with zero marketing, right? We just put that product in the market, and the first 2,000 unit Hail Mary pass we had built out of India for these products sold out in 8 days. And we were like, oh my gosh. So we ordered another one. It took 2 weeks to get in, and we sold those out in another 10 days. And we were like, oh crap, we need like 6,000 of these. So we kept ordering, and they took off like crazy. All we did was innovate. To their seat pets came a Belt Buddies. To their problems and opportunities, we created new problems and opportunities. We simply innovated and went to competition with them in the market. And because we were in early, we had the opportunity to be one of the other products in the market, following a little bit of trendy product and an evergreen niche. Okay, not a fidget spinner, but an innovative product for kids and parents. And we took that product out to market and eventually sold that brand. So that's just use the concept, just cross over two opportunities that are right there and just innovate a difference between them. It's not rocket science. You just have to be looking for it. It's what we call train your brain. Once you start to train your brain to look for those environments and look at those things around you, you will see them. They're not magical. Things don't just mysteriously trend because there's some magical thing happening in the background that allows them to go viral, like fidget spinners and stuff. There is this intrinsic little bit of solutioning opportunity, kids safety. I want to cross over toys, and oh boy, it looks like the anime characters my kids love right now, and so they crossed that over, and it just met that. And you can find those ideas all the time when you're looking for them. You just have to be aware and train your brain to start looking for them. They are all around you every day. You just have to be trained to see them.
You can hear more of stories like this with Neil on his podcast, the High Voltage Business Builders podcast. You can hear that on any podcast players. If you're a podcast listener, listen to this on my show, The Root of All Success, at some point in the future and not here live. You can also go listen to Neil on High Voltage Business Builders podcast. Neil, if people are interested in getting in touch with you and maybe looking into working with Voltage, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yep, simplest way to go about is just go to voltageb2b.com. That's voltageb2b.com. There'll be a page there with a free training you opt into, and there'll be a podcast behind that. We talk about our business model. Kevin Harrington is there talking about our portfolios and our business model, what he called the as seen on TV, which is Amazon for today. And we walk you through about 40 minutes or so of training that explains our model. There's Q&As. What do we think you need to do? And it basically breaks down the whole concept of our model. If it's interesting to you and it sounds like something you are curious or even serious about, there's a text number right below that video. It reaches me personally. You're welcome to text that message. with the call to action on that page, have a question and conversation with me and determine whether or not what we're doing fits your needs, wants, and opportunities. We'll make sure it's a fit in an agreement. Everybody follows an application process. And then we'll get started if it makes sense that we work together. It's pretty simple.
So voltageb2b.com. I put the link in the chat window. If you're listening to this and can't see the chat, it's Voltage B2B, and it's the number 2 in B2B, Voltage B2B number 2. All right. Well, Neil, thank you for being here, my man. I really, really appreciate the info and the intelligence that you shared with us on e-commerce. The 4 steps to 10x your business are profitability, growth, scale, and exit. Pay attention to those. And if you're in the e-commerce space, go back and check this webinar episode again and listen to Neil dive deep in that. So Neil, thank you for being here today. I've got a few things I want to share with everybody. I told you I would tell you what's coming up next time, but Neil, you're welcome to go, man. Thank you for being here. I've got a few things to say to the listeners, and then we'll all be done here. Thanks for being here, Neil.
Appreciate it.
All right. So let me tell you a little bit about a couple of things, especially want to make sure that you understand what's coming up on the next episode of the webinar series here. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you a question. How much is knowing when you could exit your business worth to you? You know, we talk about exiting in our show today, but I want to give you the opportunity to figure out when you could exit by going to this website, amireadytoexit.com. That's amireadytoexit.com. I'll put a link in the chat window so that you can click on it directly there for those of you that are live. But you get a free report on how close you are to being able to exit your business. And someone who takes that assessment in the next 24 hours is going to get 50% off the next Business Accelerator, my group coaching program that starts on November the 29th. That's worth $4,000. The next EMS webinar is coming up next year, January the 11th at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, 2023. The topic is the top 5 tax strategies for entrepreneurs to use in 2023 to pay less tax. My guest expert is going to be Jeff Cheney. He's a CPA and a certified fraud examiner who has saved his clients well over $10 million in tax savings. Uncle Sam gets his fair share. Everybody's talking about fair share. Uncle Sam will get his fair share, but we don't need to send him any more than is legally required. As business owners and entrepreneurs, we need to tap into those ways that we can legally, ethically, morally, and by the tax code, make sure that we're not sending them more money than we need to. Because I can tell you from experience, when you oversend your tax money to the government, they ain't sending it back. They're not doing it. I overpaid the state of Tennessee $90,000 in sales tax because I had a bad accountant several years ago. Did I get that money back? Nope. They ain't going to send it back. So figure out how to save taxes, how to pay less tax in 2023. So make sure you're here. How do you register for that? You go to therealjasonduncan.com/EMS, which stands for Entrepreneur Master Series. So go to thealjasonduncan.com/EMS. You can see that on the screen right now. I've just shared that on the screen. You can check that out. Go check it out, and I will see you next time. I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.